Hey everybody, I'm the Ranting Monkey, and today we're going to check in on our old friends over at TYT. In case you're like most people and didn't really give a shit, yesterday Native Americans held protests across the country. Organizing under the hashtag Native Nations Rise, they took to the streets in Washington, D.C., New York City, Los Angeles, and a few other places news outlets can't even be bothered to name. An editor and producer for the Daily Caller made a joke on Twitter about running over idiots blocking the road, and the young Turks are not happy about it. Why? Well, because it's racist, of course. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. First, let's find out what they're protesting for.
But they do have multiple specific goals too. We're going to go back to those pictures in just a second. But if we could jump to this picture, you're going to see a couple of the specific things that this march is organizing to achieve. Meeting with Trump on tribal rights. They want to have a sit-down meeting with the president.
Oh sure, nothing unreasonable about that. Just want to meet with the president of the United States. Look here, you fucking idiots. This is not meeting with the president of some university. This is the leader of the free fucking world.
They want corporate and government interests not to be favored over tribal interests. When could that ever possibly happen? Come on. We have some reason to believe.
Okay, I have no real problem with the corporate interest, but the government interest should be put underneath tribal concerns. So we should be subservient to the Native Americans? That's what you're saying here. You might not understand that's what you're saying, but when you say you can't put government interests ahead of tribal interests, you're saying the U.S. is the Native Americans' bitch. That's not how it works. I know this is politically incorrect to say, but the winners get to make the rules, and you guys lost.
And also that projects must require consultation and consent of the Native people it will affect, not simply some sort of survey. Maybe they meet with one person, but that it's a more ongoing process that involves not just consultation, but actual consent to those projects as well.
That's some fine wording there. Projects must require their consent. Again, we have to be their bitch. I'm all for consultation, but who gets to decide if it's going to affect them? The Dakota Access Pipeline wasn't going to affect them much, if at all. But after months of people who supposedly care a great deal about the environment leaving heaps of garbage all over the sacred land, the pipeline had to be moved because they were throwing a fucking fit.
So that march is going on. I believe we have video too that you'll see a little bit later on being shot by TYT. People are reacting to this march in different ways. Some feel inspired by it, that this movement is ongoing. They want to become an ally. Others find it to be a massive inconvenience.
There's actually a third group. Those of us who think it's just really fucking stupid.
So we want to briefly touch on a vein of thought in America right now that should have died decades ago. Let's bring up this tweet. Katie Freites, she is an editor and producer at the Daily Caller, said, "I wonder how many Native Nations Rise No Dapple protesters I could run over before I got arrested. Hashtag get out of my way." People obviously responded saying that this seems questionable, perhaps a bit racialist.
What in the bloody fuck is racialist? Do you mean racist, or is this some new term you fucking idiots have come up with? Anyway, I'm not really sure what he was talking about when he said an idea that should have died decades ago. Do you mean that if people are in the street, they might get hit? Yeah, she made a joke about purposefully targeting people, but this whole idea of protesters blocking the road? I'm sorry, if they get hit by a car, I'm rooting for the fucking car. It is a public safety hazard to block roads. Get your ass on a sidewalk, take your ass to a park, go somewhere where you're not going to be possibly blocking an ambulance that needs to get somebody to a hospital, you fucking assholes. The idea that really needs to die here is that it's okay to block a major roadway because you have your panties in a bunch. If you're a protester worried about getting hit by cars, here's a little rule you can follow. Get your ass out of the road.
She defended it in multiple ways, not apologizing in any fashion, and then eventually deleted it. She later put out this statement, "I'm not too worried about all the people who sent racist, sexist, and threatening stuff my way over this traffic angsty joke, because in the real world, tweets aren't violence." Yes, tweets aren't violence, but they are an indication of a worldview that is archaic and that is not rare. There are a lot of people, I mean, we've seen state level laws being passed after the election, allowing people to run down protesters.
No, you haven't, you lying little Miami Vice wannabe motherfucker.
Easing the penalties for that sort of behavior. And so you could understand why perhaps the people would be a little bit cautious about that sort of language after the violence we saw at Standing Rock against water protectors there.
Yeah, well, look, the law is in North Dakota where Standing Rock is, what DAPL's all about. Republicans proposed a law that you be allowed to run over protesters.
Sweet, now Tubbs is here to lie to us. Seriously, guys, either put on a dress shirt or take off the fucking jackets. You look like douchebags. Especially you, Cenk. You're too fat to be a hipster. Anyhow, that is not what the law proposed. What the law actually says, and it's linked below so you can read it for yourself, is 4 different things. First of all, if there's a sidewalk next to the street, you need to be on the sidewalk. Second, if there's no sidewalk, then you need to be on the shoulder. Third, if there is no shoulder, you need to be as close to the edge of the road as possible. And finally, that if you are a driver and you accidentally hit somebody, then you're not responsible. They did not say you could just run over protesters, you fat sidekick-looking motherfucker.
So they said, well, if a protester's in your way and is on the road, well, then they had it coming. I'm obviously paraphrasing, but not by much.
You're not paraphrasing, you're fucking lying. You're taking what the law actually says, that pedestrians should not be in the middle of the goddamn road, and turning it into, oh, it's okay to hit protesters. I'm having trouble understanding exactly why you need to have your ass in the street to protest. If you're standing in the road and you get hit by a car, yeah, that is your fault.
So go check our video on that. Go Google it if you want, because it seems unbelievable, right? But it's real. There's an actual law that allows you to run over protesters, or proposed by Republicans in North Dakota.
It sounds unbelievable because you're lying.
Yeah, well, I think that is a very American law. That finally we're getting back to what this country is about, and that's putting the rights of automobiles over humans.
That's right.
It's cars made this country.
Yeah, that's funny. Cars are more important than people. It's not like people are driving those cars or anything. They're just random cars running over people. God, you're a fucking idiot. I am glad to see that Cenk is still trying to fight homelessness by inviting them on his show, but that's a really stupid fucking joke.
I'll take the sellout position that I got it. It is a joke, though.
It is a joke.
Yeah.
It's not. It's a joke. Many people have thought at protesters when you got to go somewhere. So I'm prepared to give her a pass. She does work for the Daily Caller, so we know that the problem is that what she doesn't get is that, like, you're already against these people. Right, so we know you are. You work at the Daily Caller, right?
Yeah.
So you have sort of contempt in general for the idea of this protest. So it would have been smart if she just said it.
Or maybe
instead of tweeting
it would have been a terrible idea regardless. But the fact that it wasn't like there are people in the road or there's a protest going on. I wonder how many I could write it down. Like, she knew enough to know the specific hashtags referencing that protest. And so you know that much, but you don't know anything about the history of violence against this community, against these tribes throughout American history.
Imagine that, a reporter who knows current events but doesn't know history. Like the history of how Indians were run off the land by automobiles.
The massacring, the genocide against these communities, if they ever stand up for their rights, legal, property, or otherwise, just being either driven out of the lands or killed en masse. You don't know anything about that. You don't think that maybe you should factor that into the joke just a little bit? And at the end of the day, I don't particularly care about this one person and their tweet. It's that you are now allowed for certain communities to just say, it's funny if we talk about killing them.
I'm sure there's an Armenian joke in here somewhere, but I just can't find it. Look, dickhead, this has nothing to do with the color of their skin. She mentioned that specific protest because that's the one that was going on. She just wants people to get the hell out of the road so she can get on with her day. If this had been a BLM protest, that's what she would have used. If it had been a women's march, she would have used that. People are getting really tired of these whiny, please, please notice me bitches standing in the middle of the road. And as more of these protests happen, you're going to see them specifically getting remarked in jokes about running people over. Why? Because they keep blocking the goddamn street.
I agree with everything you guys say, but I'm also going to add this. I think, sadly, there are so many people that would have tweeted exactly what she tweeted, no matter what their political ideology. There's so many people I know of, and I've met, of all races and genders who, even if they support a cause of protesters, if they're driving in New York City or they're in a cab and all of a sudden they're in gridlock and they find out it's because people are protesting on the streets, so many people unfortunately don't see the bigger picture. and they just think about themselves and where they need to go, and they don't think that, they don't realize the bigger picture of what these people are trying to do.
I wonder if you would take that same, we need to look at the bigger picture, if it was, say, the Ku Klux Klan blocking the road. If somebody's sitting in a cab, paying money, trying to get somewhere, and they find out that there was a Klan rally that blocked the road, should they sit there and ponder the bigger picture? Or is it okay for them to get upset that some whiny fucking douchebag is blocking the road, keeping everybody else from going on with their lives? Your little pet causes are not that important. It is not so important that the whole world has to come to a fucking stop for you. Even on issues that are important, there are better ways to go about it. You don't get to hold everybody else up just because you have something you want to say. Get the fuck out of the road.
Okay, so look, I hear you guys, and the Turkish American Day Parade in the middle of Manhattan it was the #1 cause of people hating Turkish Americans. So I understand all that, and I'm not saying Katie Freitas is racist. Others are, but I'm not saying it. And I'm overall, I think I'm with Ben and Judah and stuff. I don't think that was her intent here. On the other hand, I'm also with John that, look, if you work for a conservative, douchey website, you should be a little bit more careful about the appearance of racism, because people might assume you're a racist because you work at a douchey, racist website. So that generally talks about, like, oh, minority, oh, Black lives, now they gotta matter, right? And calls those groups terrible names, etc. So you might be a little bit of pause there.
This is such a stupid idea. Even if you're not being racist, make sure you don't look racist, because somebody might call you a racist. At this point, you can get called a racist, a sexist, a Islamophobe, any of that shit for any fucking reason. I'm going to try to explain a concept here, and I know Cenk isn't going to get it, but I hope other people will. If you're not actually racist, you don't have to stop and think, oh my God, somebody might think that's racist. I don't change my words because I'm talking to a black person. You know why? Because that would be fucking racist. That's saying, you're different than white people, so I need to talk to you differently. That's saying, I have to talk to you differently because of the color of your skin. The color of your skin is going to make the words that I say to you different. You don't need to qualify your words if you're not actually racist. The only reason you have to do that is if you're sitting there in your heart thinking, yeah, black people are a little different than white people. Yeah, then you might want to qualify everything because you are in fact a fucking racist, Cenk. And that's going to wrap up this one. If you want to watch the full Hipsters and Homeless video, it's down below. I would like to take a minute and apologize to you guys. At the end of my last video, I used my tagline, but I changed it slightly to "My life makes me sad." I didn't realize how depressing it sounded with the rest of the video until I watched it in full later. That was meant as a joke, guys. I apologize if that brought you down. I was just kidding. That's how I deal with things, so sorry about that. On the other hand, somebody suggested I turn that into a t-shirt, and that t-shirt is now available on the Monkey store for a limited time. Be sure to check that out if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching. I'm the Ranting Monkey, and I will see you next time.
But of course, in the right-wing world, they're like, yo, whatever, man. It was funny how, about killing the Native Americans. That was funny, man.
Your life makes me sad.